Hi, welcome back to our podcast. In today's episode, we invited Alina Iancu, people and business advocate, to tell us more about how HR is being redefined by technology. Hope you enjoy. Hi, Alina. Thank you so much for being on our podcast. It's really nice meeting you.
Thank you, Letitia, for inviting me. It's a pleasure to have this conversation with you today.
Thank you. So I guess we'll start with the first question. How do you feel like technology is changing HR recruitment practices?
This is a big one. And if you look at the recent context that we are basically transitioning as a society, we had the COVID pandemic, so a people crisis. And as a result, we had the big reshuffle, the big resignation. And then we had economical crisis and the inflation, which generated actually something opposite, like the big stay that we are living as we speak. So in this context, the work setup has changed quite a lot, and technology had a big impact. Fortunately, organizations reinvented themselves, and now I specifically consider the corporate environment. And from HR perspective, from HR systems perspective, indeed, the recruitment piece was the most visible one. Why visible? Because it reaches out very fast to the outside world, not only to the inside organization. And definitely organizations looked very much into optimizing their recruitment processes. And by this, definitely we should consider the applicant tracking systems, which evolved during time. When we were launched in early 1990s, maybe, they were seen as a resume storage tool and maybe compliance, so organization kind of avoid lawsuits or being sued by candidates for not having recruitment processes in a consistent manner. And over time, they started to have more features like analyzing resumes or job posting or recruitment analytics. So in this evolution during time, but definitely it was like a boom during pandemic. And I think it's golden for recruiters those days to have an applicant tracking system, ATS, also known as ATS, in order to have all the candidates' information easily accessed in one place, or having data gathered from different job boards in one place, integrated, enhancing the communication with the candidates from different job boards, having custom funnels for each of job vacancies, having the opportunity to customize email templates and messages, and also receiving nudges and notifications from the system. Not to mention having quantitative and qualitative decision making, because the ATS nowadays has scorecards or can support recruiters or hiring managers with the ratings of the candidates. So this is very important in adding value to the entire talent acquisition initiative. On the other hand, employee experience is in the middle of everything, and now we have e-signature. E-signature basically makes the lengthy processes feel more, let's say, compact, and not losing time with bringing candidates into the room to sign, to have a hard copy signed. On the other hand, the planning activity and scheduling interviews, which actually give more space to candidates to schedule themselves while the calendars are already synchronized for the internal stakeholders. And ATS also brings more transparency and visibility to the entire actors involved in the recruitment process. So it's not only the recruiters who have access to the data, but it's also the HR managers, the hiring managers, peers who are involved in the process, etc. So definitely nowadays, ATS enables a more efficient recruitment process and more refined talent acquisition strategies. Talent acquisition leaders have access to data, to reporting, to recruiting analytics, so they can basically be more articulated when supporting the business leaders when planning recruiting activities.
Can you now tell us more about the technologies that you use to bring people together and make the workplace a happier environment?
Mm-hmm. Well, keeping people engaged is not easy, and it's not one initiative only. It's having engagement. It's a result of multiple initiatives that come together in order to bring value to the employees. And definitely, talent management systems support organization behaviors by reinforcing the desired and essential habits. But if you ask me, this will be, so the systems, the HR systems will be the last piece of a chain. First, you need to have the values. First, you need to have a certain culture that enhances diversity, inclusion, and belonging. You need to have your leaders buy in. You have to have your people managers buy in. So then you as an organization, design processes that embed diversity, inclusion, and are really mindful about what is important for your people and for your business. And then you embed this into an HR system. On the other hand, in order to have happy employees, as you said, and engaged employees, I think communication is very important. So nowadays, the digital tools have a very important part in enabling communication across organization in all directions, top down, down to top, peer to peer. Some have intranet, some have like a social media intranet. So then sky is the limit, right? Everybody can feel included. Everybody has the chance to showcase their achievements out there, and organizations have the chance to communicate the direction and transparently communicate results, etc., or changes that might appear. So yeah, communications channels are very important. Also, in order to make sure your employees are happy as an organization, you can have most probably yearly employee surveys that actually look for the level of engagement. And these type of surveys, it's a very important moment for the organization to listen, to reflect, and then also to act, to take action in order to satisfy the needs of the employees as per their voice. So then on top of that, they can also have pulse surveys that can be done like more often than yearly, not to mention one-on-one employee manager, one-on-one HR and employees. So this is a continuous, let's say, joint effort in order to have happy employees. And nowadays, yes, technology fosters that because...
So how do you think organizations ensure that their employees are up to date on their digital skills while using technology?
So keeping up with the skills nowadays, I think it's very important. And definitely for organizations, in order to stay competitive, it's a focus to cover the skill gap for the near future, and not only. And from now on, we are going to talk about strategic learning. Strategic learning meaning that the learning of skills will be definitely linked with the needs of the organization to stay competitive in the market for both hard and soft skills. And this will also bring some shifts into the way we learn. And learn is going to be brought into the day-to-day flow of work. And this will mean that we will talk about micro-learning, micro-coaching, micro-mentoring, coaching for performance. And also another very important aspect will be that it will be a learner's first approach, meaning that what organizations want to teach, need to teach, also needs to be meaningful for the employee and for the way they want to learn. That's why organization needs to keep up the game there and bring entertainment maybe into the stage and here we can consider gamification, for example, or it's also about the flexibility of the content and how we can actually reach the content. And it's about bite-size kind of content, anytime, anywhere, in our pace, or learner's pace in this case. And it's also about co-creation. It's about learning from others. It's about self-challenging, like just, I want to learn this. Let's find the resources in order to do it. And it maybe having a course or finalizing a certification is like the easiest way to think. But now we have multiple resources, and you don't necessarily need to start an official course to gain specific skills. On the other hand, if we speak about technology, I think IT professionals need to continue to develop themselves in architecture, design, API, and server communications, and not only this, but also best practices in their field, plus the soft skills. Not to forget about this, it's also very important for IT professionals to stay connected with best practices in communication, product management, critical thinking, why not? And then I think it's fundamental for everyone to develop the digital skills nowadays in order to grow. Speaking about development of digital capabilities for HR professionals, I don't think they need to learn developing software per se, but I think now it's the moment for them, like more than ever right now, for them to understand what's happening behind the scenes, because they are the gatekeepers, so to say. They are the spearhead when it comes to bring to life organizational needs that has to be put in an HR system. So then they need to speak the IT language in order to better express their needs.
So as you've mentioned earlier, the COVID pandemic has brought a lot of
changes.
Yeah. And especially remote work. So how do you think organizations ensure that their teams, their global teams, remain connected?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question. And if you look before pandemic, I think every team had a standard approach of exchanging ideas, preparing projects, etc. And most of the times they were meeting in a room, like in a physical space, coming together, exchanging ideas, brainstorming, using boards, right? And then suddenly this was not possible anymore. So definitely during COVID pandemic, digital tools played a very important role in changing the game and enabling employees to stay connected and continue to collaborate. And fortunately, because of technology, creating the physical space in a virtual environment, it was actually possible. So we have this concept of digital room, where actually people can come together, though they are apart from each other, but they come together virtually and exchange ideas. They can look at sharing videos, look at the videos in the same time. They can also update files and have like a real-time update of information, which is amazing. Of course, it's very important not to forget, and I'm a fan of direct interaction. As you can see, we are in the same room now, though maybe it would have been an option to have a remote conversation. Yeah. I think the human factor, it's still very important. So
totally,
it's good that we have nowadays this option to work remotely, to collaborate remotely. But when there is possibility to come together in the same physical room, I think that's ideal. Definitely, the organizations had these new tools, so to say, that enhanced collaboration and communication during pandemic. But the most successful tools were not only the ones that were task-oriented, but the ones who actually had chats, the ones that actually embedded the communication feature. So teams were able to see statuses, to see dashboards with statuses of projects, to receive messages that can be converted into tasks, to be continuously updated, and also to have one-on-one or team videos. That was a game changer, and those were the tools that were most embraced during that time. And of course, we are still living with those nowadays. and they will continue to evolve.
Can you tell us about the way organizations use technology to promote sustainability and green practices?
Today, we have a very rapid and dynamic corporate environment, and environmental and social and governance practices gain momentum and became one of top priorities of the organizations. When we talk about environmental sustainability, we consider the practices that actually look at the way we are using the resources in a way that won't compromise the future needs of the next generations. And in the context of climate change, businesses have the pressure to minimize their environmental footprint and to foster eco-friendly practices. As I said, now it's this momentum, and though traditionally HR professionals and HR function won't necessarily look into this topic, basically transform this momentum, transform the HR professionals into the drivers of environmental initiatives. And when we talk about these initiatives from HR perspective, we can consider developing policies that are in line with the values and principles of the organization, like waste reduction, recycling, energy conservation, etc. HR function also embeds sustainability into the recruitment and onboarding processes. So when you recruit for eco-friendly people, you know that you have a committed workforce to the topic and to the cause. And on the other hand, it's the employer branding. The image, it's very important because it reaches the, let's say, eco-friendly conscious potential candidates. On the other hand, for new joiners, having trainings about and educating the new joiners about organizations' commitments to their eco-friendly goals, I think it's also essential for creating a culture of being green. What else can HR departments do? They can increase the employee engagement, and they can do this by creating awareness about the environmental initiatives. Why is it important to have these initiatives? Guide, and not only guide, but also give the tools to employees in order to make sure they can be eco-friendly on a daily basis in their daily routines. And HR also implements, is the function that actually drives the implementation of initiatives, water reduction, carbon emission reduction by implementing work-friendly, work-flexible ways of coming to the work, transportation flexibility, or keeping in touch with the procurement teams. And when moving to a new building, making sure there is like a green building that basically adds on to the organization values. Monitoring, it's also important. Monitoring of the evolution of data in terms of sustainability. I think it's also very important. And soon, HR function will be the owner of the KPIs of the sustainability, environmental sustainability, and they will look after energy usage, waste generation, water consumption. Having a robust consolidation of data and using the tech systems as a solution for this, it will be a game changer. Because in these sustainability initiatives, it's very important to keep in touch with your stakeholders, to keep them informed. So the visibility of the data is essential. So using tech in order to keep this visible and transparent and also to showcase results will be a differentiator.
Could you tell us about how organizations ensure that their employees' data is secure?
Employee data is it's hot topic, and security of employees' data, it's high priority for the organization nowadays. And when we talk about employee data, we have to mention the HRIS, the HR information systems, which basically have the entire storage of data for employees. And there you can find from IDs to bank accounts, to anything that is related to the people processes, which are streamlined in the HRIS, like for example, performance assessment ratings. Basically all the information that an organization has about the employee, it's there in the HRIS. This means that there we have sensitive, highly sensitive and confidential data, which might be a target, right, for the cyber criminals who want to access and steal the data. Hence, it is very important to look into the best practices of having the data secure. And why to have this? Why is it important? It's important because it protects the data, first of all, and you avoid identity stealing, for example, and perform fraud. Also, staying compliant with the regulations. And now we have, for Europe, we have GDPR, which is the General Data Protection Regulations that basically protects all the data that comes from European employees and customers. And also this is important in order to avoid fines or legal fees, not to mention the reputational damage that might happen. So there also, it's on HR professionals' responsibility to very well look into the practices of their vendors, for example, when they acquire a new HRIS. Are they compliant with the protocols, with the security protocols? They should also develop security audits to make sure everything it's in place and it's as per legislation. Also, control access and risk assessment to make sure that you identify risks before they make any harm. Authentication is very important, and now we talk about multi-factor authentication in the systems. Encryption of data that can actually for protecting the data if breaches are happening, but also in order to have a joint effort into securing the data, it's very important to have employees aware of this. So employees are part of this game. It's their information also. And if you, as an organization, educate them in this direction, they can be the first line that can actually protect and raise a hand when they see a potential threat and reach out to the right teams, security teams within their organization. So they might be able to identify phishing threats, and they will be the owners of password changes.
It's great to hear that companies and organizations are taking such careful measures to keep their data safe. So.
Yes, and definitely organizations cannot do it on their own. They do it also through their employees. And it's not also only on HR departments. It's a joint effort.
Alina, I'm really curious about this thing, and I thought I would ask you, how do you think HR professionals are able to be up to date with the latest technological advancements in the HR field?
Yes, good question. I think it's very important for HR professionals to stay connected with everything around them. But to be more specific, I think it's important for them to network. Offline and online, there are lots of possibilities nowadays to stay connected with people that have same interest as you are. Follow influencers, because there you might find the trends or potential trends. Influencers might be the one who actually set the trend themselves. So why not to follow these influencers? More classical approach, like going and have a certification, follow a course, recruitment, talent management, etc. This is also like a way to stay updated on what's happening. Maybe one of the most important is having a membership to an HR association, because if you tap into this, then you can have access to quite a lot of resources in different ways, virtual and not only, like events, podcasts, articles, best practices, maybe also certifications. And you are part of the community. You are part of the community from which you receive information and knowledge, but being part of that community, at some point you can also add value. So it's like a win-win kind of situation. And yeah, you can have also hands-on labs. You can receive mentoring or coaching. So I would say if you are connected in such a way, then sky is the limit.
I read an article yesterday which I thought was really interesting. So it talked about the study performed by Harvard Business School. And they found out that 88% of HR executives learned that AI tools reject qualified candidates because they try to use this AI tool to do the recruitment process. And it got me thinking if, maybe AI one day will be able to do or to help HR executives or to help people in the HR department. Do you think that's something that's possible, or what are some technological advancements or innovations that you think are going to happen in the future?
Very interesting article. Really looking forward to, maybe you share it with me so I will be able to read it myself. Definitely AI technologies are here to stay. On the same time, it's early days for AI technologies, right? What we know is that, we start to use it in HR and not only. And we have this new ChatGPT colleague, HR assistant, that it's actually looking into efficientizing the administrative part of HR. So it's here to stay. We need to embrace that. Might be disruptive right now. Doesn't work 100% perfect. Yes, but it will evolve, and we need to stay open to this. And on top of this, we can also talk about metaverse that is here to stay. And speaking about surveys and reports, statistics, Gartner says by 2026, 25% of population will be in a metaverse at least 1 hour per day.
Wow.
So I think 2023, 2024, it's a momentum for organizations to start use metaverse, to start have events for employees in metaverse. And I think some of the organizations already use metaverse for their clients, for their customers. So then if we do this for customers, yes, the employees are the center of everything, right? So in order to serve our customers, we need to also, let's say, educate our employees and also be mindful of their employee experience. So then, it's a great opportunity for organizations who will be open to jump into the metaverse, so to say, because they will be a step ahead. Their employer branding will be enhanced, and there will be a competitive advantage at some point. And then I also see the challenge for HR function, for HR professionals, because they will then need to champion the new hybrid model of work. They need to educate leaders on how to lead on metaverse. But there's also the opportunity to create new virtual workspaces, more creative, that foster more collaboration maybe. So indeed, the future is metaverse, right? The future, it's more virtual. And with the rise of algorithmic HR, we as HR I think professionals, we don't need to forget about the fact that the people function, it's about being human. Yeah. So the combination of technology and human piece, I think makes the magic in the future.
So now that we're approaching the end of our podcast, I was wondering, this was a really great discussion. It was lovely meeting you.
Thank you.
And I'm sure
same.
I'm sure everyone enjoyed this podcast. But do you have any advice for me or aspiring teenagers?
Oh yes, this is the most difficult question, Letitia. Stay curious. Continue to stay curious. Stay humble. Stay open to information, to new information. And stay connected to everything that moves around you. Be curious about industries, be curious about new fields that pop up, like, for example, AI, right? Yeah. So be curious. And I think it's also important before going to university or early years in university to set some objectives and then follow your dreams.
Thank you so much. It was such a lovely podcast, and it was nice meeting you.
Same here, Letitia. Nice meeting you, and keep in touch.
Yeah.